Hey everyone, we are deep in southern Louisiana on a little spit of land, a little island known as Ile de Jean Charles, where for hundreds of years Native Americans have lived and they've worked and they thrived. But this is an area that is losing a battle with Mother Nature. If you look over here, you can see exactly why. The water is encroaching and rapidly. At one point, there was some 33,000 acres that made up this isle, if you will. Nowadays, it's down to about 300. So the local chief of a tribe, it's called the Biloxi-Chitimacha-Choctaw. They got about $48 million from the state government to move. They plan on moving about an hour and 10-minute drive to the north up in an area called Homa. But it's somewhat controversial. Some of these people simply don't want to leave, and you can kind of see they're very keep their privacy very close. They're very concerned about so many people coming in here with prying eyes, but it is a fascinating story because they are often called the first climate refugees in the United States, but they aren't going to be alone. A number of islands in the South Pacific are facing this, areas in Alaska, in the United States, so many other areas. So what's the best way to show that this island is eroding? Well, we hired a drone pilot. I want to bring in Tim Handley. He is an FAA authorized drone pilot, and that's important because anytime you take a drone into the air, you're also dealing with helicopters and planes, and this is an area which frequently flies working folks off and on to offshore oil rigs. And Tim is the one operating the drone here. Tim, what's been the challenge so far on this island?
Oh, well,
other than weather?
Aside from lightning, the bugs, but it's awful pretty out here.
Yeah, it is. And when you get your drone up in the air, you really see how this island is being carved up. Did you have the sense driving in here just how bad it was?
No, I didn't, and it's pretty saddening to think about it actually, because it is so gorgeous, and to see it scarred and such, and to think that these people might have to leave. I wouldn't want to leave if I lived here. It's just so gorgeous.
Tell me about your drone. What kind it is? It's got some great images, and how easy or how difficult is it to operate?
Well, this is an Inspire. DJI is the 800-pound gorilla in the market. So they have like 70% of the market share, and they've done a really good job. So if I take my hands off the controls, it's satellite locked and won't deviate even with wind. So that makes it a lot easier to fly than even those little $50 ones that you give your kids for Christmas. So it's very stable. It has a lot of features that are constantly being added to it. It's just a fantastic vehicle.
Now, Ile de Jean Charles, this is an area that's been protected for some time by a levee that's about 2 meters high. We've seen it. It is an earthen levee. We've had a great look at it with the drone. When you see how, I guess, delicate this area is, you can certainly understand how one good storm like Harvey, Irma, Maria could simply devastate this region.
Oh, well, you could see how high some of the stilts are on some of these houses, so they know what they'd be in for. It's just going to absolutely flood this area. I mean, it's going to make it absolutely uninhabitable.
What's been the most amazing image to you as you've watched on your screen here, getting good pictures with the drone?
Well, there's these very symmetrical marks that apparently were done by some industrial, probably oil company.
They are oil companies. They're dug in to lay pipes, channeling, things of that nature, and they're dug and they're actually quite small, but over time they get wider and wider and wider.
Yeah, and they don't seem natural. It's not like nature's fingerprint. It's clearly man-made, and you know, it's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if you're seeing something that's being disturbed, you can only imagine how truly the disturbance goes, you know? Right
now there's somewhere between 25 and 30 families living on this island. When we came in off the main road and went down on that narrow road with water on both sides right at ground level, it's really eye-opening.
Oh, that's for sure. It reminded me back of my Pensacola beach days. You know, that might have had some nicer beaches, but this certainly is pretty with all the wetlands.
Well, let's let you take it up. I want to get another look from on high of this. But this is really the only way to really cover this story at this point. We can spend all kinds of time here on the ground getting the images up close. You see the seagrass, you see the marshlands, and you see the few hardwood trees that do remain here, mostly live oak, all going away. But boy, once you get up in the air with that drone, it just really paints the full picture of this area. You see how delicate the balance is between nature and the people still living here. I want to tell you a bit about Chief Albert Knockin, he is the chief of the tribe. He is the one that negotiated the deal with the state of Louisiana. It took him more than 2 years. He was criticized by people who live on the island. He was criticized by those who don't. It was a very difficult time for him. We talked to him about trying to negotiate this deal, and really he wonders what the end result is going to be, because this is something they actually started talking about 13 years ago. And if you ask him, are people going to be off this island by the time he retires, steps out of the picture? He hopes so. He wants to be able to see the development take place. They plan on building a community center first. So as the people leave this region, if indeed a hurricane or a powerful storm comes in, then the people who left the area will have some safe place to go to. But it is a controversial measure. That's about the simplest way to phrase it. A lot of people who live on this island simply don't want to leave. They grew up here. Their children went to school here. They went to school here. We can tell you the residents out here speak a Cajun French dialect. It's really charming when you get to talk to the people. But they come out. They can fish in the morning, they can crab, they can shrimp, and we spent time with some of the locals out here and watched them do this. While to us it may seem like a very precarious way of living, it's the only way they've known, and they quite love it out here. So it's going to be difficult to say goodbye to this island. What the chief has been trying to say is, look, you're going to be a drive of about 1 hour and 10 minutes away, so if you want to come back, you're going to be able to, but it's simply not that easy. It is a controversial measure, and really this year during the punishing storm season in the Atlantic, you really get an understanding of the danger that low-lying areas are experiencing. Puerto Rico most recently, Irma in South Florida, the Miami area, where even a good hard rain can flood a decent portion of that, and of course Houston, which had that massive rainfall over a period of days and damaging flooding. If anything like that hit Ile de Jean Charles, it would simply be gone, and these houses up on their beams would be gone as well. We have to tell you, over the years, houses have fallen into the marsh, and what they do, they get big equipment out here and immediately just push it out of the way. So there's not a lot of, if you will, architectural skeletons lying around. They are removed rather quickly. But again, it is called Ile de Jean Charles. We want to hear from you, see what you have to say about this issue, and certainly climate refugees having to cope with climate change, rising waters. It's a concern all around the world. We want to hear from you what you have to say about this, and if you know an area like this that is facing a similar challenge. Sean Callebs, CGTN on Ile de Jean Charles.